What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fake Philosopher. It's been a while since we recorded something, but Fantastic Four just came out, and we thought we'd bring on a couple people to talk about it. As always, we got Danny over here.
Hi
Danny, say hi
guys.
to the folks.
Hi
And then
folks.
movie review extraordinary, current Rotten Tomato approved movie reviewer, movie critic, Derrick Murray. Welcome
Yeah.
back.
Woo!
I herald your beginning and I herald your end.
Perfect. All right, before we get into Fantastic Four and Marvel in general, quick anecdote. Derrick Murray worked as a salesman now and at one point, and I recently had an experience with the door-to-door salesman. Not it's this probably won't be that funny to people, but it just kind of Danny in a group chat we're in earlier, I kind of was like, I'm not even mad about this, but I just can't stop thinking about this sales guy. So let's talk about it. And then I want your reaction to this guy's sales tactics. Uh, Caveat going into it, I am aware that I have aged like an avocado in the sun. That'll come into play. Okay. So doorbell rings, my dogs bark, my wife's working out, and I look out the window and it's an AT&T sales guy. Instinct is don't even answer it. But my wife was like, he already came around, he knows we're home because I talked to him on the Ring camera, I was busy, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'll talk to him. She was working out, so I have baby in hand. I don't think I talked about it on the show, but I have recently had a child. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
That's going to come into play in
It
Fantastic
will
Four
come.
baby steps.
Yep.
There it is, and the sales guy. And so I'm holding the baby, and I step outside, and I'm like, "What's up, man?" You can tell this guy's a younger salesman. He's probably one of these guys in his lower 20s who got the job. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "Oh, hey, boy or girl?" And I was like, "Boy." And he's like, "So it's your grandson?" And,
Oh. Oh.
and I was like,
Oh.
like I said, I have aged poorly.
That's where you go, fuck you, and you slam the door in his
No,
face.
so I didn't say anything. I just kind of tilted my head slightly, and immediately he's like, "Oh, is it your son?" And I was like, "It's my son. It's not my grandson." And he's like, "Oh, you look old." And I was like, and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, I look older than I am. I do look older. I haven't aged well." It's a joke. I kind of laughed it off. And he's like, "Yeah, like how old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 38." And he's like, "Oh no, that didn't happen yet." And he's like, "Oh, well, why did you wait till you were old to have a baby?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not that old. I just look old." And he was like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 38." And he was like, "Oh." It's like, "So why did you wait so long? Why did you wait till you were older?" And I kind of just looked at him. I was like, "Circumstances." And I just shrugged. And we kind of stood there. And I was like, "So like, what's up, bud? What do we got here?" I said to him, I was like, "What do we got? What are we doing?" And he's like, "Okay." So he starts giving me a shtick about AT&T built a new tower down the street next to the Target. That's gonna have 5G, all the good shit up here. So he's going door to door to upgrade everybody. And he's like, "Who do you have currently for your cell phone?" Now, I should have just said AT&T. And said I'm good. I said Verizon, and he was like, "Okay, like what phones do you have? Like, so we have a deal now that blah blah blah. We can swap them out and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay, well," I was like, "I have this phone. My wife has an iPhone. I don't know what kind. They all look the same to me." And he was like, "All right, well, if you want to do blah 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 blah, it's gonna be like what I can get you hooked up for like 124 a month. How's that sound?" And I was like, "Well," I was like, "I'll be honest, like we're kind of content. Like we have good signal. Like if we don't have good signal some days, we have good Wi-Fi. Like I'm kind of content." And he's like, "Well, what do you pay right now?" I was like, "My wife takes care of it. My wife takes care of it, like takes care of that, but like I'm pretty sure it's lower than 124." And he's like, "Oh, it is." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I guess I can't be mad about that." I was like, "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Well, is she still busy? Is she around?" And I was like, "She's busy right now." Like, no. And he was like, "Well, like when is she not going to be busy?" And in my head, I was like, "Oh, you know that she's in charge. You're trying to get rid of me." Uh, like I knew what he was doing. I was like, and he's right, but I was like, "No, she's busy, man. Like she's not around." He's like, "Well, I could loop around the cul-de-sac and come back in like an hour." And I was like, "We're gonna be eating dinner, man. Like, do you have a business card?" He's like, "No, I don't have a business card. I'm just kind of your old-fashioned salesman on the street." I was like, "All right. Like, do you have a phone number I can call you with, or like call AT&T to follow up?" And he's like, "No, it's kind of like today or never." And I was like, "All right, man." I was like, "You know what? With respect, like, I just don't think it's gonna happen. Then I just don't have the time to like handle this right now." And he's like, "All right, but like, but the cell, like, your signal's not that great up here, right?" And I was like, "No, it's like, well, I'm content, but like, I just don't have the time to do the whole thing. Like, I'm sorry." And he kind of just stands there and he's like, "Well, then y'all messed up. It's not on me anymore. It's on you. You messed up, okay?" And I was like, all right. And he was like, all right, I'm just saying it's on you. It's not on me. And I was like, okay. And he's like, all right. And he walked away. And I was kind of like, okay. And I went back inside and I went to my wife and I was like, I'm not mad right now, but like, that guy really was a shitty salesman. And I told her the whole conversation. She's like, should we call AT&T and just tell them like we're not complaining, but like you shouldn't pay this guy?
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, Derrick, as a salesman, please give me your critique of his presentation.
Well, just awful from start to finish. I can't. I mean, look, one of the number one things you should do in any sales role, no matter what, whether it's door to door, whether it's retail or cold calling or SMB cold visit, whatever it is that you're doing, starting off with, "Wow, you look old." I don't know any worse way to start off a sales process than that. It just you first of all, you are way too goddamn nice. Because if someone
I am.
He was holding a baby at the time.
I don't care. I don't care.
Throw the baby at him. No.
I don't care. If someone just right out of the gate was trying to sell me something and the first words out of their mouth were, damn, you look old. Why'd you wait so long to have a family? There's no more discussion that we need to have. I'm closing the door in your face. Yeah, so one of the first things you should always do when you are trying to sell somebody something is connect. That's the number one thing that you need to do. You need to connect with the person that you're speaking to, and you need to do that very quickly. You have about really the tightest window is about 15 seconds, but realistically, you've got about 15 to 30 seconds to connect with your customer. If you do not do that, then yeah, you're probably not going to be able to sell somebody something. There's no point in going into a pitch if that person automatically doesn't like you within those 15 to 30 seconds. Sure. So this just starting off on that foot is just unbelievable to me. And then ending the sale with, oh man, that's on you. That's on you, bro. That is absolutely wild. Just absolutely wild. And then demanding to talk to your wife. It's not even a pushy salesman. It's just a bad salesman.
Yeah, I didn't even want to complain to AT&T because I actually like having the story. I thought it was funny. But I was like, should I call AT&T and just tell them like, hey man, like your boy is not having it. Like,
I definitely I would not have insulted you right out of the gate. Sure. So that's the first thing. Two, I would, if you told me, hey man, like we're content, we like what we have. My instinct would have been to be like, hey, are you okay with being content or would you like to have great service?
There you go.
That's what I would have said. Because then, even if you don't care and even if you don't actually end up doing it, I'm at least leading you into something that might have some kind of value. Yeah. Because, yeah, sure, you're content. That's great. But what if I could tell you you could be more than content? What if I could tell you you'd be great? What if I could tell you whatever you're content with is going to be better? Would you at least want to hear me out? More than likely, you'd be like, yeah, dude, I'll give you another 10 seconds. And then I've got 10 seconds to win you over with my pitch, right? It's any sales pitch like that is always, you have to measure it in seconds. It's always, you got 15, 30 seconds to win them, to actually get them to hear you. You've got another 10 to 15 seconds to add value to your pitch. You've got 10 to 15 seconds to do your pitch. And if you haven't sold them in 2 minutes, especially a door-to-door sale, but if you haven't actually sold somebody within those 2 minutes, move on, buddy. There's no looping around. There's nobody else you need to talk to. You got to go to another door because that sale's done. That's how quick that sale needs to be. So yeah, that man should not be out on the streets.
Yeah. To be fair,
he is a menace to salespeople.
To be fair, I respected the wife game. I respected it. I was like, okay, he knows she's in charge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's, let me see your supervisor. I respect that. Anyway. Let me talk to the person with the money. Okay.
Yeah. But again, there's other ways to ask that. Like, okay, hey man, she's busy, she's dinner, whatever. I don't mind the, hey man, I'm gonna loop around. At that point, you could just be like, hey, listen, I have this really exclusive offer. I think you guys could really benefit from it. If you don't mind, can I circle back at what time? Is that gonna be a good time for you guys both to be here? At least then I'm putting it on you. And then you could be like, actually, you know what, man? I kind of like what you're saying. Yeah, come back around 8. Okay, man, I'll stop by around 8. And then all you can do is try again. That's it. That's all you can do.
I should have given him a ridiculously late time.
Yeah.
He's gonna
Come
by
back at
around
3 in the
1.
morning.
Yeah,
I'll be around like 10:30. We're good.
he probably would have.
Yeah, Mike, were you like, did the oh my god, you were old comment? Did that like it didn't matter what his pitch was? Like it was pretty much not going to happen based on that.
I mean, to be honest, I wasn't gonna go with it anyway. In my head, it was like I'm gonna because you could tell this guy was young. I was like, I'm gonna let him do his pitch to work on it. I have empathy. I was like, let's let him do his pitch, work on it, and then maybe he can get the next one. But he's not. I knew right off the bat I'm not doing this. But I wanted to give him like his shot, you know.
Yeah.
Because I know he probably gets a lot of doors slammed in his face, and I was just kind of like, all right, let's give him the shot. Just the way he's like, all right, well, it's on you then. I was like, all right.
That's such a weird way to end this.
It was just, exactly. I literally was just kind of like, all right. And he's like, I'm just saying it's on you then. Like it's not on me. And I was like,
Was this like
all right,
did
okay.
he come off with like some like white bro 909 guy?
No.
Okay.
It was more of like he was a black kid. It was more of like he was kind of holding the business together. And I think the last thing was like, all right, well, it's on you then. All right, it's on you. And I was like, we're not committing crimes here. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, just want to get your take on that, Derek, as your grade
Yeah, no, thank
there.
you. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. I like
right.
seeing bad salespeople sometimes.
Yeah, we'll make it a segment. I'll answer the door every time now. The salesman reviews. Moving on. Before Fantastic Four, 10-second review of Ironheart. Danny, you're almost through it. What do you think so far? Quick.
I dig it. I like how they're incorporating like the science and the magic aspects. That's really fun. And yeah, since I'm part of the way through it, I can't wait to see how it ends, even though I kind of already know how it ends.
Yeah. So I would say I think a lot of people thought it was going to be trash. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was the best thing Marvel's ever put out, but I thought it was good. The guy who plays the Hood, as we talked about previously in person, Danny, I think is not a good actor.
Not a good actor.
I agree.
I know he's been in a few things.
He is the worst part of Hamilton, second to Lin-Manuel Miranda. Even though he wrote it, he is not good. But yeah, Anthony Ramos is an awful performer.
Is that his name? Yeah. So this is the first thing I've seen him in, and when Danny and I talked in person, I think you and a couple other guys were like, "Oh, he's been in this, and this." I think you said
he's in a lot.
He's in a lot of stuff.
I think Danny, you said he's getting like the Jai Courtney treatment.
Yeah.
Except Jai Courtney actually proved that he can act. So
yeah, Jai Courtney could act. Jai Courtney made some bad choices, but he can act.
Yeah.
But so just the whole time I was like, this guy sucks. Like, what? Why is he here? But overall, I do enjoy the show. I did enjoy it. I thought it was okay. On the tier, I tier Marvel stuff from 1 to 5, and I would say it's probably in the 2 to 3 range, but it's like good.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, because Derek, you said you haven't watched it, right?
Yeah, and I don't mean this as an insult to television by any means. I just straight up don't have the time with how many movies that I see a year and how often I have to visit the cinema. So television is just something that skips me by. I watch a lot of things by proximity, and that's just not a show that has played in my house. I would like to see it. My list of shows that I know I need to watch is longer than the amount of films that I actually watch in a given year, which nears about 400, 500 every year. So I just don't have time.
No, that's fair. Because it's one thing to watch a 2-hour movie. It's another thing to put in hours to watch a show. So I get that completely.
Yeah. Even quick ones where it's 8 hours, 9 hours, and you can knock out the whole series. That's just too much. That's 4 movies in a day, guys. That's how many movies I can get done if I watch movies instead of a TV show.
Yeah, I only knocked it out pretty fast because like when I would get home from work, my wife's like, take the baby because I need a break. So I would literally just go and sit on the couch holding the kid and watch the movie, like the TV show. So I was like, all right, it works. But yeah, under normal circumstances, I probably wouldn't have time either.
Yeah.
So I get it.
I'm pretty out on the Marvel series anyway. Just
That's
because
fair.
They're inextricably tied to the connective tissue, which I think is probably the worst thing the MCU has done post Endgame. And they just all continue to be that way. And I think it's just an overload of things and
lots of homework.
Way too much. That's a compliment to Fantastic Four, but we'll get in there.
Yes. Well, let's just get right into it. Quick review. I said and we can have the discussion later, Derek. I still think Marvel has not put out a completely bad product. So I usually rank them tiered 1 to 5. 5 being like Endgame, 1 being like Love and Thunder. I'd throw that there. Danny, on the 1 to 5 scale, where do you throw Fantastic Four?
I'd say 3 or 4. It was
Okay.
a lot of fun. It was I liked that they kind of gave it the like the 1960s vibe to it. Instead of like doing like a modern update like the Fox movies were. Um, yeah, I mean, and visually it was great. Like there were like the really small details. So like when like the thing like will like touch his face or clap his hands, like you don't hear a clap, you hear rocks smashing together. And it's like those little things that keep you grounded in it. Like those little things I really appreciated.
Okay. So Derek, before we started, you said it didn't age well. So let's get your 1 to 5 when you first watched it and where you are now. So
Yeah,
2.
so leaving the theater, I would have been at like a 4.
Okay.
But very quickly after I had left the theater, the longer this movie has sat around in my brain, the more I've discussed it, the more I have written about it, the more I've thought about it, which honestly doesn't stick around very long. It's a very nothing burger type of film. Um, the more I've done that, I would actually put this closer to like a 2.5.
Okay.
I
think
think
that's right.
I think this film has a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that actually. I did enjoy, like I said, I've enjoyed everything Marvel's put out. I think some are better than others. But I would say probably in the 2.5 to 3 range. For me as well. Probably for similar things. We'll get into it. So let's the goods or the bads. What do we want to do first?
I can do either one.
Danny?
Let's go ahead and do the bads because I'm really interested to hear what Derek has to say about the bads.
Okay. Derek, just get into it.
Okay. So in a without getting too specific, I mean I know we're in spoilers or whatever, but
Yeah,
without
we're
getting
doing
too
spoilers. Oh,
specific.
spoiler alert, we're doing spoilers.
I've said this on a number of I've talked about this movie extensively, so it's no secret, but in the broader context of the film, everything that is interesting feels like it's on fast forward. And you can feel that this movie was most certainly hacked to bits because the MCU no longer trusts their audience. They have created a machine that is going to function whether they want them to or not. It is a villain of their own making, and it is almost impossible now for them to make something that actually feels like it's going to take the risks that we need them to. One of the things I want to liken this to is if you remember kind of pre-Endgame and you remember that first phase of Marvel when they were just making contained cinemas, right? One of the questions that I've been asked is, do you think Marvel can still make or can make at all tried and true genre films? And they have moved significantly away from that because most people that are helming these movies are now just seat warmers. They don't have the kind of creative control that was granted to a lot of these early directors. I would even include the Russos in there, although they're not even going to be able to do the things that they did in say Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Endgame, those types of things, right? So
Let me jump in real quick because I want to see if you agree with me. Because I think pre-Endgame, I feel like every director and writer had control of their movie, and then Feige and his team would be like, okay, how do we connect them?
yes,
Right?
yes.
Whereas now it's more like Feige and his team are like, here's where we're going. And the directors have to say, okay, how do I fit into that?
Yes.
If that makes, is that where
that's exactly
yeah.
what I'm saying. So I'm going to say something out loud and just think about how insane this is to say, right? There is a Thor movie that is directed by Kenneth Branagh. That is it.
Yeah,
that is an actual statement.
Yeah. I think about that a lot, actually.
There is a Thor movie directed by Kenneth Branagh. That is just, when you say that out loud, it is absolutely mind-blowing that is something that exists. And it's pretty good, and you can feel Branagh all over this movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that just don't exist in the MCU. They just don't. And they don't exist here, even and this is the problem in that broader context, right? Where everything feels like it's on fast forward. You can feel, I think it's Matt Shankman, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can feel Matt Shankman wanting to play outside of the sandbox. You can see where most of his sensibilities lie are with family trauma, family dynamics, all of those things that are there. They're all there in Fantastic Four. But you can see every time he wants to push the limits of the sandbox, those big ass Marvel Disney arms just wrap around him and pull him back into the boundaries that only exist within the MCU context. And it is incredibly frustrating the longer you think about that. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by everything being on fast forward. Did you know that Thing has a girlfriend or a love interest in this movie? Did you know that?
Yeah, Natasha
I'll
Lyonne.
ask you another question. Did you know Natasha Lyonne is in this goddamn movie? Also, I'll give you another question. Did you know she has a character name? Because I bet you didn't. It's Rachel. I had to look it up 6 times.
It's Rachel. Yeah.
And here's the thing, right? As a compliment to the good, I love that this movie doesn't bother with origin story and doesn't deal with the same things that each of these characters normally deal with. You more than likely, right? All of the other iterations of Fantastic Four, the Thing doesn't like being the Thing, and he's all bent out of shape about being a rock. That's his internal struggle, and that's primarily all we've ever seen him be on screen. In this one, he's basically over that. Yes, there's some resentment, but for the most part, that's not his internal struggle anymore. He's now just kind of a lonely guy and wants to find connection with someone. So for me, that is incredibly interesting. That is a different part of that character that we have never seen. And because they don't trust us to care about that, and we have to get to Galactus destroying the city because that's all anybody cares about, even though we've seen that 40 fucking times in the MCU over and over and over again as their number one climax, they don't trust you enough to care about what might actually happen between the Thing and this character. They give you one scene to establish that, hey, this is a lonely guy that wants to find connection. And then they just press that fast forward button. And then when everything goes to shit, they're like, oh, spend it with the people you care about. And you're like, who the fuck is that? Who does the Thing care about? Why is he in this church? So that's what I mean when I say that. And every single one of these characters has that, where they start off as being somebody interesting, as being somebody that might have some kind of character development, but the Marvel machine doesn't trust people to watch a family drama. So they fast forward to get to the action as quickly as possible. And I think the movie actually suffers for that.
Yeah, I actually agree with most of that. Because I do think maybe I'll word it differently, but like, yeah, and this goes against, I think the Thing was a good example, but I think it's almost all the characters to where they start to touch on, I mean, maybe Reed and Suicide, they kind of go into the whole the baby thing, but
But even
yeah,
that's
Johnny.
the least interesting part. There's a deeper dynamic going on.
Yeah,
Well, it's Romeo and Juliet syndrome. A lot of people focus on the two romantic leads when the supporting cast is a lot more interesting. That's the Romeo. If you're familiar with Romeo and Juliet.
No, yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah, and so like the supporting cast of that play is so much more interesting than Romeo and Juliet. But so like even Johnny, like you see like the bits of him. And I did like that he was smart in this one as opposed to previous Johnnies who were just cowboy, you know. But so like he started getting into it, and even like when he connected with the Silver Surfer about her past, that was interesting. And then you just kind of brushed it away.
Yeah.
You already touched on the Thing, and it did seem like a lot of the characters they gave you just enough to like them, and then it's like okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
And then to kind of go to piggyback on something you kind of ended with, you're like they're just fast forwarding to the action, and to me, maybe I'm spoiled. I almost felt like there wasn't a lot of action.
There's not.
There's not.
You're not wrong.
Two big action sequences.
Yeah,
they just tried to get to those two as fast as they could.
Yeah, and that's what you're not wrong. You're like they fast forward to the action. You're not wrong, but at the same time, I was like, but what action? Like, because even and this is kind of again getting kind of picky. It was a family drama, which is fine because like you know each movie kind of takes a different genre. But in my head, I was like, I think I've seen Pedro stretch 2 or 3 times, which is not a big deal because he's the smartest man. He's a scientist, fine. But I was like, but that's kind of a thing that he's supposed to stretch, right? Like, he does that, right? Like he stretches. Am I crazy? Like, wait.
I had a thought. Like, and most of this movie is montage. It's like the montage at the beginning going into their like origin and like their early years, and then the third act, the beginning of the third act, the end of the second act is the montage of them building the teleporters, and that takes like that's a 10-minute scene, and like that's a big chunk of the movie.
Yeah, I found that whole third act to just be abysmal, honestly.
Yeah, not a good third act.
But that's look, again, that's the MCU coded Marvel machine, because they always suffer with third acts, and their third acts are always the same. And it's that aversion to risk, right? We saw it, we've seen it with almost every movie post Endgame. But another great example is something like Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is incredibly risky for 2 acts, where it plays on all of these just incredible Hong Kong cinema tropes and fantastic worlds, and really just gets into this gorgeous new Chinese history, and then it just becomes a stupid dumbass kaiju battle, and it's just CGI slop, because they can't trust you enough to care about anything else. And that's been my frustration with most of these movies. But this one, I think this one is, it's not even that it's bad, it's just that it's frustrating. There are so many things that they could have done better, and they could have given me more. I would have been perfectly fine if this movie really just was a family drama. That is more interesting to me than honestly any of the other action that happens. And to your point, Mike, there's not even enough action in it to warrant it being an action movie in the first place. And so what are we rushing to? Just let these things breathe. This is interesting. And then you get to characters like Reed Richards and Sue Storm, who I think are probably the most fleshed out. But even Reed Richards, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's just Pedro Pascal being the wrong person for this role. I don't have Pascal fatigue like a lot of other people. I'm not burned out on him, but I don't think he's right for Reed Richards. I think
I'd agree with that.
I think he's the Hollywood.
Oh my God, what do you mean? It's public for the role.
I think he's the Hollywood star casting of this entire cast, because he's so hot right now. And that's why they put him in there. I just don't think he's right for this role. But even if he was, I never got the sense that he was the smartest man in the universe. That's never really communicated in a way that I think holds weight. There's a few sequences.
Fuck you, Danny. Fuck you. I already know what you're thinking. Sorry, Derek. Fuck you, Danny. You know what I'm thinking.
There's maybe one scene, and actually I think the second act is probably my favorite part of this movie. But that's it. The rest of it is just kind of like, what? Yeah, okay. I get it. You're smart, but you're not the smartest man in the universe. That's never communicated to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, Derek, what we're referring to, I'm not proud of this, but it's not my best moment. About 10 seconds into the movie, Danny's actually sitting next to me, and I think I was like, "Is Reed Richards autistic?" Just the way. I wasn't even mad about it, because like it kind of makes sense. If he's the smartest man in the world, he might like trains. I just, there was a moment where I was kind of like, is he trying to play? Is this on purpose? Is he trying to play this autistic?
Mm-hmm.
And that's me just being honest.
Yeah.
I was honestly like, is he trying to play this autistic? Because even when the one scene where, like, I think I said "fuck you" out loud.
You did.
Where he's arguing with Sue about the baby, and he's like, yeah, and he's just weighing everything. She's like, why do you have to do that? Like, why do you have to think about giving him away? He's like, we're not going to, but I'm just weighing all the options. That's the way I work. And she's like, maybe the way you work hurts me. That's when I was like, fuck you. Because that's that same female bullshit. I was like, shut up. But like, what he was saying, because like, I know if that happened to me and my kid, yeah, I would think about it, but I wouldn't say it out loud to my wife. And so the fact that he was like saying it out loud, I was like, that is kind of a spectrum-y thing to do. Is you're saying this horrible thing out loud because you're just weighing the options. That's kind of an autistic thing to do. It was just, I don't know, like, I'm not against it. It kind of makes sense, Reed Richards being on the spectrum. I was kind of like, I'm not against that. But it's kind of like, all right, well, you kind of have to pick a lane here. Is he or is he not? And to be honest, this is kind of going off on a tangent. I'm just explaining why I told Danny to fuck himself just now, because I know we were both thinking that. I kind of didn't feel the love between them, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, for sure.
I felt more love in their press conferences and their red carpet events. I felt more love there than I did in the movie.
No, and that's because they, like, the two actors have really good chemistry and they're really good friends, but that doesn't show in their acting together, which is really weird.
Yeah. I at first, so again, when I left the theater, I thought, wow, that chemistry was incredible. But again, the longer I think about it, you so and not to get too like granular into what these characters should be, some of that is just the groundwork that they lay down and then they just don't execute it the way that it should, right? So the reason you kind of have this vibe of like, oh, he's on the spectrum, that's actually not wrong in the way that you would, if you actually stand back and think about it. If you are truly the smartest man in the universe and you can turn your mind into a supercomputer on a dime and literally just solve overly complex problems at any given moment, then yeah, you're probably going to suck at communication and having friends and being able to like handle other individuals in any capacity. And so it would make sense that all of that front facing press conference, people oriented thing would fall to Sue. That dynamic makes sense on paper, that he might be the leader of the team, but she's the face and the voice of the Fantastic Four, because he wouldn't know how to communicate to another human being if his life depended on it. That's a problem he can't solve because he just doesn't work that way. And that's fine if he wants to say it out loud. So all of that is there. But again, because everything is just lightning speed through those things that are interesting, it's never really explored. So then you're left to just sit back and wonder, like, well, I wonder if his favorite thing is trains. It just, you know what I mean? It just.
And we've had this discussion before about other things. And that could be solved easily after the conversation where he like weighs the options. And she's like, why would you even fucking think that? And he's like, no, of course we're not going to give him blah, blah, blah. And they get into a fight. All that could have been was like a scene after that with Johnny. And Johnny's just comforting Sue, like, hey, you know how he is. He can't help it. He does it. And that could hit, like, oh, he does, like you said, he's the smart guy. He just doesn't know how to communicate sometimes. Like, there's those small fixes that could only take one or two lines.
Yeah.
And it's solved. But going back to something else real quick, I do challenge the three of us. What action scenes were there? And when I say action scenes, I just don't mean driving a fast car or flying a spaceship. Like, what action scenes were there?
So I would argue that the second act spaceship flying chase sequence into the black hole and around it, that is an action sequence. There's a lot of things going on. They're not just flying the spaceship. One of them is trying to give birth while the other one is trying to solve how they're going to get out of a black hole, while the other one is trying to fly the plane, while the other one is trying to shoot the alien that's pursuing them as they're going in light speed. That, honestly, all of those things are super thrilling, and I actually think that's the best the film looks. And
I did like that scene.
It felt like there were actually stakes. Like, we know they're going to make it out of the black hole, but how they do it and what the outcome of that is completely unknown until the scene resolves itself. So that is one. The only other one is Galactus smashing a building or two, and then each one of them getting a punch in before Sue goes all girl power and pushes him into the black hole anyway. That's it. There's no other action in this movie. That's all that happens.
I will say this: there was supposed to be more. Do you guys remember John Malkovich was supposed to be in this movie?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
As I want to say the Red Ghost, and like he had those super intelligent monkeys that they were like, they showed clips of them fighting, but that was supposed to be a way bigger sequence, and you're supposed to see John Malkovich, and they totally cut him out of the film.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they had cut his sequence down, and then in the final cut, they just removed him entirely. So he is actually credited in the film, even though he doesn't actually show up in the movie.
Well, hell yeah.
Easy work day for him.
Yeah.
So my final, I mean, we could go on about the negatives. My final negative thing is, I feel like I know in the nerd community, there was a lot of outrage about how they did Galactus in the Jessica Alba Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. So I feel like they almost felt obliged to do Galactus, when in my head, I don't think they did him poorly, but like, kind of touching on what you said, Derek, the story itself felt very shallow in the sense it's like, we're a family. The intro was great. I actually like that montage. We'll get into that. But it's like, okay, we're a family and this happened, blah, 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 blah. Now there's this big threat and we got to take care of it. We're going to go there. He wants to he wants to take my baby. We're going to say no. We go back. We find a way to kill him. It doesn't go so right. We find a way. We got rid of him. but it's like there wasn't anything beneath that. It was just kind of like that.
Yeah.
Say what you want about the first Fantastic Four. I guess it was the second one with Galactus, but there was more stuff going on in it. Like, you know what I mean? There was Galactus coming and the Silver Surfer, but there was stuff happening.
There was a Doom subplot, and
yeah. I'm not saying it was great, but I'm saying like stuff was happening.
Yeah.
And so this one just kind of felt very shallow.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was almost, we've criticized movies for doing this before. This one specifically, again, I don't think it was bad, but it really felt like we just need the Fantastic Four to go into Doomsday. So let's just make the movie to establish them. Yeah, throw Galactus in there because we already know the formula. And let's do it.
I was going to say, I think this movie, especially if they're going to be doing Secret Wars, this movie is a setup movie to establish Franklin Richards and his origin, where he came from, because he's going to be a huge, huge vital part to Secret Wars if they follow the comic books. And it's looking like they are going to be doing like the 2015 Secret Wars kind of setup.
So yeah, as soon as Galactus was like, I need that kid, I was like, that's why they did the movie.
Yeah.
I would argue that this whole movie just feels stakeless, and there is never, outside of that black hole sequence. I actually think that black hole, it's funny.
I like that.
I think this movie shares a lot of bones with Superman because they actually have a pretty similar structure in the way that they function, and both actually have a black hole sequence that one has a Minecraft river, the other looks a lot better with lava, but they're basically the same scene. But that sequence actually feels like something might happen to the Fantastic Four. Not necessarily that they're all going to die or anything like that, but like you get the sense that something is going to happen to them and they might not make it out of this in the way that you want it to. By the time you get to this final climax scene, there is no part of me that ever for a second thought that anything was going to happen to any of them at all. So automatically, Johnny's faux sacrifice is undermined. And then Sue's death is also undermined with one of the creepiest CGI babies this side of Renesmee from Twilight. They linger on that shit for so long. And I just kept thinking, like, there is no emotion here, guys. Stop it. No one for a second believes that Sue Storm is actually dead and this dumb, ugly baby isn't going to bring her back to life right now. Why are we pretending we're doing this?
I'm gonna up one. I believe Tony Stark died in the first Avengers more than I thought Sue Storm died in this one. And the Hulk just smashing his chest to wake him up was more believable than that baby waking her up.
100%. Can I fix this ending for you, by the way? Can I do that? I think I can. I've done this before, but I think I don't get paid to do this. So Marvel, if you want to send me a check for fixing your movie, I can infinitely make this movie better. Okay. Here's what happens. Whole scene plays out the same way that it does, right? Sue pushes him back and Johnny's like, hey, tell that kid his uncle did this. Johnny actually completes it. There is no Silver Surfer that comes in and saves him. Johnny actually does sacrifice himself for this family. So the end of the movie, Johnny is gone. We don't see him. You have your Fantastic Four with Franklin. And now Reed Richards' whole life is now dedicated to finding Johnny in this black hole and bringing him back. So there's still a success, right? You still feel like, okay, they defeated it, but at what cost, right? So now there's actual loss. And now they have something that they know they need to do. And this can also tie back into the Fantastic Four showing up at the end of the Thunderbolts because they're on a quest to find Johnny. And now they know that the multiverse exists and they know that he might actually be there. So
would you say, Derek, that it's a Johnny quest?
Hey, I love it. Nope. Solid.
Nope.
Fantastic Four Johnny Quest. Sequel coming at you, baby.
That actually checks out. That's good.
And I'll do you one better because I'll fix the worst mid-credit scene Marvel has ever made, which is in this fucking movie. So we don't ever see Doom. That shit, write that shit off, man. That movie's gonna be trash. Don't even bother. Now, the actual mid-credit scene is Johnny floating in space, and who to save him and bring him back to Earth but Shalabal the Silver Surfer. You just see him floating in space, and here comes the Silver Surfer, picks him up, whispers something to die among your own, and then starts. You just see him dragging him back to Earth, and it might not even be his actual Earth. All she's doing is saving his life, and then it ends, and then the Fantastic Four will return in Secret Wars Doomsday. How much better is that movie?
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest. When you said you're going to rewrite the ending, my instinct was that you were going to say Franklin Richards hits her on the chest, she wakes up, and they have shawarma. That's what I thought you were going with. So I'm kind of disappointed in you, but at the same time, that was a great ending idea. But I thought they were getting shawarma. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Yeah, and I think that would be infinitely better. Or I don't know the Silver Surfer's names, but when you first said the Silver Surfer is going to bring him back to Earth, when you said the name, I was thinking the Silver Surfer from Fantastic Four with Jessica Alba. Like that Silver Surfer found him. And so I was like, ooh, that could have been cool, yeah, too. But yeah, there's a lot of other ways that could have gone. But yeah, the stakes, because even when he's like, tell that baby, his uncle loves him or whatever, I was like, okay, here we go. I'm thinking of a comparison to a previous movie that we have discussed on Jack of All Nerds. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because Derek and I will argue for 3 hours. The Last Jedi. But no, like, so there was a moment where I was like, oh, this could get heavy. He's going to sacrifice himself. And then as soon as Silver Surfer comes in, I was like, nope. All right. Okay.
The same comment you made about Tony Stark, I didn't think for a second he was going to go through with that. The Silver Surfer had been missing from this movie for 30 minutes. And as soon as he was like, tell that kid I love him, I was like, well, here she comes. I just didn't even have a question about it. I knew that was going to happen.
Now, so I'll end with a bad that turns into a good.
Okay.
I think, and then we'll talk about the goods. I think Galactus was goofy as fuck, in my opinion.
Ooh, no.
I'm not, but listen, it works. Yes. It worked for this movie. So I know the Jessica Alba Fantastic Four gets a lot of flack for doing the Cloud Galactus, and everyone's like, no, he's not like that, blah, blah, blah. So in this one, they didn't do that. But I think we see why, because it does look goofy for this giant guy to be there. And like the Silver Surfer's pretty much his mom cutting up his food for him. Like, okay, it's kind of goofy. What? She was breaking planets up so he could eat it.
I'm laughing in solidarity.
Yeah.
Well, this is good.
No, Danny was giving me a look.
No. That was really good.
Yeah, she's just taking care of her big intergalactic baby.
Who'd kill her world? Yeah. But no. So
no.
But
her world is saved.
I said who would kill her world?
Oh, okay.
But so it is in like little comic books it works, but there is something just goofy about a giant guy, and that helmet, let's be honest, is goofy as fuck. It's like on paper it might work, but in real life that's a goofy ass helmet. And so there's something inherently goofy and corny about an actual Galactus walking around trying to eat shit. But
I would argue most cosmic villains are goofy as shit.
Yes,
and they really only work in the context of comic book pages, which is why they're so hard to transfer onto film.
Yeah, but so that's a bad thing, kinda. But I think with the general corniness, and I'm saying that not in a bad way, but the general corniness of the movie's tone, being this kind of 60s techno thing, and they're all kind of goofy, and like they wear in the 60s goofy clothes. Like, I'm not saying that's bad, but it kind of fits with this movie. If they try to do a modern day Fantastic Four, almost like the Jessica Alba ones, I know there's other actors in those movies, but I'm saying Jessica Alba. It would come off as fucking weird and not in a good way to have this Galactus walking around trying to take bites out of the planet. But in this one, because of the tone set early on where it's kind of goofy, that 60s feel, the almost Jetsons vibe, it kind of works. And so I think Galactus worked for this one because the goofiness worked for the tone they set. And he's still kind of fucking goofy. Like there's moments in the movie where I was kind of like, really? Like where he's just talking to him, he's just walking around. I was like, come on. But it worked for this movie.
If he knew Dude, you shoot laser beams out of your fucking eyes. If you knew that they still had a transporter that was made for you, why didn't you just stomp on that shit? What
I
are you
mean,
waiting?
yeah, but
Anyways, so yes, he's goofy as hell, but the movie itself is goofy as hell.
yeah, that's my point. It
Purposefully.
works.
So
Yeah.
yes, it works. I too hunger for something unquenchable when I'm drunk at 3 a.m. and open up my refrigerator. So I can relate to this Galactus.
And I can only wish someone could cut it up for me.
Where is my Herald?
Oh, I'm gonna start calling my wife that. She's gonna hate it.
Careful, Mike. She'll herald your beginning and your end.
Oh, touche. But no, but so goods though. So I think Derrick, you touched on it. The opening montage, I actually really liked because it skipped the origin, but in a organic way to where it's like, because they kind of the Fantastic Four, the comics, like they're kind of celebrities, like they kind of matter. So they kind of skipped a lot of that, and they opened that scene with them, pretty much like this program is going to be about them. So a quick history, here it is, and it kind of worked to where you give it the quick history, boom, out of the way. I thought that was good. I'll agree with you. I think there was better options for Reed Richards. I think Krasinski could have been better.
Yeah.
I understand that he was just a fan casting for Doctor Strange. That being said, I don't think Pedro Pascal was bad. I think you said it, the way they worked with the Thing where he wasn't bitching all the time, I thought worked. I know the beard bit got some hate on the internet. I thought it was good. I liked it. We're all beard guys. I appreciate it. I liked. I'm not familiar with the comic book versions of the Fantastic Four, just mainly the movies. But in the Jessica Alba ones, the Johnny Ben dynamic was almost antagonistic at times, whereas this one it did feel more like family. We love each other, and we're just giving each other grief. Like it felt more fun. Like this was good hearted, and I liked that because sometimes in the other ones I was like, Johnny's kind of a fucking asshole. You know what I mean? Like legit. I was like, Johnny's a dick. Like Ben's having a tough time. Like he's a fucking rock, and Johnny's fucking with them. What a prick. But like in this one, it felt more like family. It was good.
I think they have the best dynamic, honestly.
Yeah,
all of
100%.
them, those two have the best kind of buddy cop bromance type of relationship. Yeah.
It's the Romeo and Juliet syndrome back to it. Those were more interesting to me than Reed and Sue.
I was waiting for the Thing to call Johnny cousin every time.
Is that a comic book thing? Oh, fuck you. Yeah, okay. Took me a second.
Yeah. Because and like I want to say that like his role in the Bear probably like lent a lot to like working on that family dynamic, and acting that out. And it shows like you guys said, they have the best dynamic of any two actors in this movie. The other thing I want to talk about that's like really good is like, even though it was like goofy, as you said, Galactus looked great. Like you got a sense of the scale when he moved and when he talked, and like they made him generally like scary. And a lot of that I want to say is because of Ralph Ineson, who played Galactus, and the fact that they used a practical costume and he wasn't 100% CG. A lot of it was miniature work and him actually wearing the armor and walking around a miniature Neo New York. It looked great. It felt big and scary.
Does Galactus change size?
Yeah, he has that ability.
Okay. Yeah, so I know I spent a lot of time trying to fix this movie and shit on it quite hard. But there are some things that I really did enjoy. I think the production design is phenomenal. I've got some pretty big issues with just the CGI overlays, and I think there are some that look really, really bad. And I think that's something that the MCU has struggled with for quite some time now. Because I think a lot of this stuff is put on the rush deck in post-production, and their visuals are just not good. They're just kind of always subpar. And that's just a larger MCU issue. And I think they rear their ugly head here. But when it's not doing that, and it's doing all of the practicality, and it's trying to bring that retro futuristic 60s world to life in practical ways, it is stunning. I absolutely love the production design in this movie. I think the score is phenomenal. Michael Giacchino's score is just incredible. Not even just the choral Fantastic Four version, but most of the things that they do throughout the score. The score is like more riveting than what's actually transpiring on screen. And so as I was watching, I was like, dude, just feed this score into my veins. Like, forget the non-action that's going on. This score is doing work. It is over. It is doing work. So I like those two things. I think those two things are probably my favorite. I will say that I do actually really like Julie Gardner as Shia LaBeouf, Silver Surfer. I know, incels on the internet freak out when a woman is cast in anything. So I get it, fine, whatever. But I actually think she does a really good job, especially considering the fact that she is 95% CGI. She does a really good job in kind of giving some more depth to that character, even though it functions largely the same as it does in the earlier, in like the Fox version. It's basically the same person. I think she actually does a really good job. I really liked her dynamic. I really like what she does. Everything with, even though Joseph Quinn is not as, I guess, brash and cocky and bro-coded as he might be in the comics and in kind of like that Chris Evans version. And again, I know he's brushed off to the side and he's kind of fast-forwarded. I actually really like what Joseph Quinn is bringing to the table.
Yeah,
I like his relationship with the Thing. I like his relationship with Shia LaBeouf. I do think that they have a pretty good energy and a pretty good chemistry, and I enjoy that they give him the connection to her. And even though that's not as explosive as I would like it to be, it's some good groundwork. So I liked a lot of those things. And then the last two things I'll say, I love that opening montage. I love that we just bypass an actual origin story. That's probably the issue. My biggest issue with the Fox versions is that even in the sequel, it just rehashes the origin story, which I don't really know why. That movie is 90 minutes long, and 60 minutes of it is just rehashing the origin story where nothing happens in that movie. So that's, I like that they just bypass that. I think Superman does it a little bit better, because Superman does it with 3 lines of title cards, and then you're just fucking off to the races. But I do like that. I do like that we just skip all that. We don't need that. We get it. We know who the Fantastic Four are, and if you don't, now you do, and that's all we need, right? We don't need any more. So I like that. And then I do like, aside from the horrendous mid-credit sequence, I do really like that this movie feels incredibly contained. There is no homework involved whatsoever. If you have, I don't know who you are, but if you have never seen an MCU movie up until now, and Fantastic Four is the first movie that you watch, it is perfectly fine. You do not need to have seen anything that transpired before it. No movie, no TV show. You don't even need to know what the MCU is. You can literally just sit down and watch this movie from start to finish, skip the mid-credit scene, and you've got yourself a superhero movie. And that is a compliment to the film. And it's something that the MCU, again, has really struggled with, because they keep prioritizing the connective tissue. The way that, Mike, you said it too, is like Kevin Feige and his team are setting the groundwork first, and then the directors have to pigeonhole themselves into those puzzle pieces, versus the other way around, where they get to create what they want off of a basic framework and get to, kind of experience and express their creative visions. And then Feige and team kind of figure out how it's going to all fit together. I think that's a better way to operate. But I like this movie because from start to finish in its actual runtime, you don't need anything else. It's just a Fantastic Four movie, and that's it. And if you bought this on Blu-ray and this is the only Marvel movie you ever watch, you're good. You're fine. So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
I have one more compliment too, and then I have a question for you, Derek. We've talked about casting in this, and I will say the casting, I think generally speaking is good. The best cast character in this movie is Paul Walter Hauser as Mole Man. That was, I didn't know he was in the movie. And I know they talked about Mole Man in the intro. And then when he came on, I was like, like I said, I'm not familiar with like the Fantastic Four comics. So I had no fucking idea who Mole Man was. But when they said Mole Man and I saw him, I was like, best casting choice in the history of the MCU is him as Mole Man. And then when he came up later when they were trying to like shelter everybody, I was like, this man needs his own movie yesterday. We need a Mole Man series. about living under. I don't know.
Please don't put that out into the universe.
I had no idea who Mole Man was.
We don't need
I am Team Mole Man.
Nope, we don't need any more sidekicks getting their own shit. That's a Mater problem, and we don't fucking need it. Okay.
They did do a prequel comic run for this, in which you see all of the events that they go through in that montage. So you see Mole Man trying to steal the Pan Am building. You see them fight Giganto. And you see them fight Red Ghost and his super chimps in this comic run. So if that's what you want, you can
I really
imagine.
don't.
The Gnomes Gallery is incredible.
Just listening to you rattle off these names, it is mind blowing how popular these characters are and their longevity in comic books, because they are so fucking lame.
Well, you got to remember, dude.
Doomsday made it for him. Doomsday made it.
Dude, it was the 60s when it's like, well, what? Like,
Literally
Stanley,
in the 60s. I get that. I'm just saying, like, I understand that comic books are childish just by their nature. I get that. I understand. But the Fantastic Four themselves, and then when you just start listing the names of their rogue gallery, it's just like, oh my God, you have not crawled out of 1960 once, ever. Nobody transitioned to this thing.
That's why they keep using Galactus. Got it.
Yeah, right?
What about the culturally sensitive Fin Fang Foom?
All right.
I still think the Underminer is better, but that's just me.
The Underminer, yeah, I agree.
So Derek, why? Danny, finish your thought first.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, The Incredibles is the Fantastic Four.
And they're the best version of it, by far and away. They've never come close to a better version of that.
There's no Mole Man, but still.
There is the Underminer.
There is. You get the Underminer.
Oh, I haven't seen The Incredibles, so sorry.
Oh my God. You know what? I can't even believe you invited me to this shit and you haven't seen The Incredibles.
I'll see it before next time.
The worst person in the world.
I agree with that. Ask the sales guy.
And you're old.
And I'm old. I'm so old. I'm dying inside. So why I think I might know the answer, but Derek, why did you hate the mid-credit scene so much?
So
I know why I didn't like it, but I'm curious why you don't like it.
There's a multitude of reasons. I think I think it's actually just done really poorly. I don't think that the way that it is supposed to function it matters too much. I think it undercuts a lot of that contained story that we've been looking for. And I also just, I think, I just kind of think about what ifs, right? Like, what if you just did this right in a way that actually felt like you knew what you were doing? The only way to make this mid-credit scene work is to not have revealed that you're going to do Doomsday, and also reveal who Doomsday is going to be played by in an absolute desperate attempt to be relevant, and also make us sit for an hour and a half watching you show director's chairs of every goddamn character you've ever made in the MCU. It's just like, there is just no reason for this. And I understand that Doomsday is where we're going because you have to pivot, but I couldn't roll my eyes hard enough at its inclusion and everything that precedes it and everything that is probably going to come after it. And it just reeks reeks and I don't like it.
Okay. Yeah, so I agree with that, and a small part I disagree with too. I was looking for typical mid credits, end credits scenes. Okay, those are the times now. It's it's a good movie on its own. It's on its own. So the end credits, mid credits scene, we see the hint of connection. I know you said you don't want that. I was looking for that. Okay, let's see the hint of connection. But my problem with showing Doom was if it was someone who doesn't know anything about comics, right? That doesn't follow it like we do. That we know that Doomsday is coming, all that stuff. So they see this guy, they see his mask in his hand, and they're just going, who the fuck is that? Right? So it didn't serve a purpose. In the self-containment way, it violates it in that matter, where it's like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Secondly, okay, so to us who knows what's going on, we know that's Doom. Okay. But you don't really I don't know if I'm going to articulate this correctly. It's just kind of like, all right, we know, like what you said, we know, we know, like, so
Yeah.
what are you, if, and now I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but even if maybe there was like an angle churn and you see Downey for the first time, I'm not saying that would have been the correct way to go, but at least
there's a I don't know if it's an AI version, but somebody sent me.
Yeah, somebody did it.
Yeah,
I
somebody
saw
did
that,
it,
yeah.
and it's I still don't like it, but I like it a lot better than what we got.
Yeah.
That's
Well, because at least it's like, oh shit, that's the first look at Downey. At least it's stroking our dicks for the fans who, like, you know.
And
so
to your point on that though, like I agree. It's you're giving us a mid-credit scene that we already know. You're not revealing anything to us about what's going to happen next, where the Fantastic Four are going to be. Hell, you don't even answer your own question from fucking Thunderbolts. You don't even give us that connection. You just
and that's exactly my point. So you're not scratching the itch of anyone, because if you're someone who's looking at this as a self-contained movie, you don't know who that is. So this means nothing to you. It's kind of the same thing. I remember, I think it was the first Avengers, when you see Thanos for the first time, and the biggest Googled thing that night was, who the fuck is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people knew who he was, because there was hints of it. But like, if you're just like an innocent fan, you don't know anything, so you don't know who that is. Okay, if you're a fan like us who follow this shit, we already knew this. So kind of going back to your idea with like Johnny. So even if there was a quick scene, they're like, okay, we need to go look for Johnny. We need to do this and that. Get in the ship. Let's go. I found a wormhole. At least now, after seeing Thunderbolts, oh shit, that's about to happen. Something that's hinting at connection. Okay, but so that scene, although the nerd in me kind of was like, ooh, it's Doom. At the same time, I was like, yeah, but I already knew that. Yeah, I already knew he was here. And I did like the small hint when it scrolls the UN or whatever, and you see Latveria, there's no one there. It's like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a better mid-credit scene than the mid-credit scene, honestly.
Sure. Yeah. But so that's kind of where like there was part of me that was like, ooh, it's Doom for the first time. But at the same time, like, yeah, but we knew that. So it doesn't serve anyone, because I'm repeating myself. If you didn't know who Doom is, you still don't. Yeah. If you know who Doom is, you know what's going on behind the scenes, no new information is added. Yeah. So you're kind of scratching an itch that's not there. Mm-hmm. And then the end of credit scene was just that bullshit cartoon, and I was like, all right, I stayed for this.
I'm so tired of that. I didn't like it in Superman. I don't like it here. I don't, for the love of God, don't waste my fucking time.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny when Spider-Man did it, and it was Captain America. That was funny.
That's funny. But
since then,
very rarely have you given me any reason to sit through the credits. I already have to show up to the theater 30 minutes late to avoid 90 fucking commercials. Not even trailers, just straight up commercials. So I already have to show up to a 7:00 screening at 7:45 to catch the movie to start. And now you want me to wait another 10 minutes to see something that doesn't matter. Just stop wasting my goddamn time. Just don't do them. I just don't need them. I don't.
Or put up like a warning, like there's something, but you're not going to care about it. Okay, thank you. I'll Google it later. Yeah. Like something. So fuck the end of credits. But yeah, the mid credits, I don't think it was that, like, it wasn't bad. It was just kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
Danny, you were saying something.
The one thing that mid-credit scene does give us is that Doom has an interest in Franklin. All right, he could have easily been there to, get Sue or Reed or any one of the four, but no, he goes to Franklin and he's having a conversation with Franklin. All right, that's a teaser for us, those of us who know what's coming.
Yeah. So again, and I'm not. I'm not someone who needs to write my own fan fiction. I understand.
Yes, you do.
That, I mean, I do, but I don't get nearly as bent. I don't get nearly as bent out of shape about things if you don't create something that I've created in my brain, and that's not the movie that you made. So now I'm going to jump on Twitter and make it my whole personality. I don't do that, and I'll never do that. But this is, again, one of those things that's really easily fixable, because in the way that you're talking about it, if you absolutely have to show us Doom and you have to show us that there's an interest in Franklin, because Franklin's going to be very, incredibly important to the Secret Wars, then just simply make her go look for the book. Franklin is a toddler. He has no idea how to control his powers. So make him accidentally open up a portal. We look into the portal and we see Doom, and he starts to turn around, and then it ends. And now, like, you get the same effect, you get the same scene. It's just structured in a way that is a little bit more intriguing. And then I just hate it slightly less. I still don't like it. I just, to Mike's point, you're just telling me something I already know. But if you insist on doing it, then just show us why there's a vested interest in it. Just show us why. If you're gonna show, then just show, and just show Franklin accidentally doing something with his powers to relegate to us, right? To communicate to us and the non-comic book fan that, hey, this is a cosmic baby. this baby is a cosmic baby. That's why Galactus was after it. And oh shit, it's a goddamn toddler that opened up a portal and didn't know it could do that. And that portal happens to contain Doom that now knows that there is a cosmic being that he needs to go find. Okay. So
this is nitpicky. This is nitpicky, but how are you going to go from Darwin's Origin of the Species to the Very Hungry Caterpillar? All right, whatever. He's a baby. He's a kid. Whatever. It's fine.
So, Derek, feel me out. I just thought of a scene. It's not good, but just to establish, what if the same scene, she's looking for the book or whatever, and she walks in, and there's Franklin dicking around with his powers, and she's like, "What do you?" And he's holding a cat. And he's petting the cat. And she's like, "Where'd you get that from?" And he goes, "Shoot." And another cat comes in. It's the fucking cats from the Marvels. It's stupid, but it shows that he's bringing shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's bringing shit in. Like, I'm petting this fucking cat. And it's honestly, just one of those stupid cats.
Honestly, Mike.
I would be perfectly fine if that happens and the Flerken throws up a scroll in their living room and then it just cuts to black. Like,
it throws up Doom.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But again, if you insist on doing this, then just make it worth my time. That's all I care about. Just make it worth my time. It's honestly, in my head.
I was like, it's a toddler who wants to pet a cat, so it brings one of these things in, and it throws up a scroll, and it's the actual scroll. Then I forgot the guy's name. The lead scroll. It's him, and he's like, "Where the fuck am I?"
Yes, yes, that's amazing. 10 out of 10. No notes.
Something. Yeah.
No notes. But yeah, just you have to give me something to make me care. And if you're going to keep fumbling the bag, and again, that's why I think that scene just reeks of desperation, because one, you're not telling us anything we don't already know, but you have been so afraid of failing because you've created a machine that you don't know how to turn off. That is the number one problem with the MCU. Is they have literally created a time-sucking, almost sentient being of movie making that they literally do not know how to stop. They don't know how to turn it off. And because of that, you did all these dumbass reveals that honestly just look awful. I hate everything about this Doomsday thing. I can't even describe to you how bad I think Doomsday is going to be. I don't trust the Russos as far as you can fucking throw them. Their best days are behind them. They are going to make a very, very shitty movie. And we all need to be prepared that this movie is going to be bad. We just need to set yourself up.
I'm holding out.
Please don't. You were going to be so goddamn disappointed. And
I will eat crow.
Scene proves it.
I will eat crow if I'm wrong. But even back to the mid-credit scene, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but like, even, and I'm not saying this makes up for it, and it wouldn't, but like, even if it churned and it was Downey, at least there's that jerk off, like, "Oh, we saw Downey for the first time. Okay." Yeah. At least there'd be that.
You can light the internet on fire with something like that.
Absolutely. At least it's the Spider-Man No Way Home thing to where it's like, all these, okay, yeah, like, all right. But yeah, it really was a nothing. And I'm holding out for Doomsday, though, because I'm just. We'll see.
You're going to get edged. Just letting you know right now.
It won't be the first time.
I know that's probably, I know I'm going to catch a lot of shit for saying that, but look, I'm going to stand on business. And I just, there is nothing about this construction, these announcements, the way that this is put together, how fucking rushed it is. Everything about this just screams failure. And yeah, I'd be happy to be wrong. I genuinely would. I really would. I almost want to be wrong. I don't think I am.
My holdout, because I think the point you're making are 100% true. my holdout is I forgot what if it was a podcast or I read an article. You know, you get mixed up and everything gets jumbled in your head. But from what I read, I forgot if it was a writer or a producer, someone. I think it was the writers. It wasn't the Russos. It was the writers of Endgame and Infinity War. Was it Marcus and Neely? Am I remembering the name wrong?
It sounds right, but
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
I think it was one of them. Don't quote me. It was someone who, like, I think this is when what's his name, Kang he hit the girl. Like, this is when all that shit was happening, and so they're trying to figure out a way out of it. And I think it was one of them. I think Feige approached them like, "Hey, would you want to write something?" And they're like, "I don't know." And I'll see if I can actually find the podcast or article I read, but it was about how this idea came about. And I guess it was one of the writers. I think, again, don't quote me, was like, I don't know if I want to do another one. Endgame is kind of where I wanted to go out on, like this and that. And I guess like that person sat on it and like a day or two later came back. He's like, okay, check it out. I have an idea. And he told the idea, which of course we don't know, to fight all the people. And then that's when they first approached Downey. And that's when that's when like the puzzle pieces started coming together based on this idea he had where everyone was like, oh shit. Like there was that moment of like this idea. And like granted, like our stakes are much lower than Marvel's, but like I've had those moments where like I came up with the idea or my friend came up with the idea and the momentum, you're hyped, right? Oh shit, this idea. And you start getting the ball rolling. That's I think why I'm holding out for Doomsday was because of whatever I read or listened to harked on this thing to where like the writers one of them had this idea, pitched it like on a phone call, like it wasn't like an official meeting, it was like a phone call or something, and they all went, "Oh shit, that idea," and they ran with it. And I think it was like within a couple months that they got Downey on board. I think they sold it to Downey. I mean, granted, the money was one thing, but they sold it to Downey to come back, and they got the Russo brothers to come back, which I agree. They haven't really done much since Endgame, but they had this idea.
It's just all been really bad.
That's what I'm saying. They haven't but so that's where my holdout is that there was like this thing that someone came up with that everyone was like, oh shit, let's go with this. Yes. And that's where I'm holding out. I think all your points are valid. That's why I'm not like addressing them because they're valid points and valid concerns. But that little holdout in my head is like, maybe there's something. And then when they started bringing like the old X-Men in, I still wonder why they brought Gambit in. Not because I don't like Channing Tatum, but because I just wonder where he fits. Nonetheless, but they're bringing those guys in. I'm kind of like, okay, maybe this idea is gonna work regardless of where everything else has gone. I don't know. That's why I'm holding out. It's just because these guys who know more things than us were psyched on this thing and they're running with it and they made moves on it. I'm just crossing my fingers and holding out. I don't know.
Okay. All right. I know I'm the Debbie Downer naysayer here.
No.
But I do hope you're right. I do. I really, really do. I
want to see a good movie. Yeah.
I want to be wrong. I do. I really, really do. I can't have that unbridled optimism and that sense of hope because the MCU has just killed it for me. So sorry.
All right, I think that's any other thoughts on Fantastic Four, the mid-credit scene, anything? No? Cool. All right, well that's it. We'll get back, Derek, we'll get back together and Danny will come in just to make sure we don't start yelling at each other. And we'll discuss my I don't think there's a bad Marvel product.
I'm very interested to hear. I think this
my scale of 1 to 5, and we'll discuss it because I know you disagree with me on that.
I do,
but that's a whole other thing.
That'll be fun. Yeah,
and we still need to get Maxwell back on here and do the Delroy Lindo discussion, if you remember that. Oh, Danny, when we were talking about Sinners, I think I mentioned Delroy Lindo doesn't do a bad movie. We started just mooching his ass a little bit, and we're like, we need to do a Delroy Lindo episode.
Did you see Sahara?
Yeah. Is he in Sahara?
Yeah, he's in Sahara.
We'll save it for the Delroy Lindo episode. I'm going to email Delroy Lindo and see if he can come on.
Okay. He's riding that Sinner's wave right now, man. He's probably going to be very hard to pin down.
Stop eating my sesame cake. All right.
He's so good. He's so
Love Delroy Lindo.
real quick.
This man is a piece of shit.
I know we're not going to go into it, but I don't agree that Delroy Lindo has never been in a bad movie. What I do agree with, though, is Delroy Lindo has never been bad in any movie he's ever been.
Maybe that's what I meant.
There it is.
Because
Delroy Lindo is always the best actor in the room.
Yes, because you can watch Sahara and be like, wow, this is awful. But God damn it, Delroy Lindo is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
When the only line I remember, not the only line, but the main line I remember from Congo was "Stop eating my sesame cake."
Yes,
Delroy fucking Lindo.
I have a special place in my heart for Congo, but it is objectively a terrible movie.
It's not good. It's not good.
But, Murder Monkeys. That's awesome.
Delroy Lindo is phenomenal in that movie.
Oh, I love it. Dude, when we'll suck his dick later, but when Delroy Lindo could play a black MAGA supporter in The Five Bloods, and convincingly, I hated him.
Yeah.
This man is incredible.
And then 2 years later, makes Sinners, where he's literally the exact opposite. One of the greatest living actors. Just one of the greatest living actors.
Love Delroy Lindo.
Amazing.
Love
the guy.
All right, on that.
Was
Delroy Lindo in Fantastic Four? Was Delroy Lindo in Hold on. Where was he in Fantastic Four? He had to be there somewhere.
Should have been. Would have given this movie a 4 if Delroy Lindo had showed up.
If Delroy Lindo was Mole Man, the movie is made.
Now I just want to see and hear Delroy Lindo deliver the line of "He needs to butter me up." I want that line delivery from Delroy Lindo so bad. I need that in my life. ChatGPT, get on that shit.
We'll reach out to his team. Yes. All right. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me, Derek. As always, Danny, as always, much love. All right.
Recording. Stop recording. There we go.